Hey guys, I'm Jacob. You're watching the Prepper's Bunker Outdoors. I want to talk to you today about the Ontario Knife Spec Plus series of handles. I've talked about this series of handles quite a few times because I've been reviewing these knives for about the past 10 years. They have dominated the market at the $50 range, especially if you're looking about 5 years ago before quality control and quality really started slipping. With that here, I have the Scrapyard Knife Company Trash 2. It has a similar craton handle that is much better designed. By the way, this is the Kydex sheath that I had made for this knife. It's made by Tiger Valley Tactical. He does excellent Kydex work. Now, really quick, I want to say this channel this month sponsors HCO Strops. If you're a knife guy and you don't have a strop to sharpen your knife, you definitely need one. Alan at HCO Strops is a great guy. The link to him is in the description box below. I recommend you go and check that out. Also, you can support this channel through my Patreon, affiliate links, and my own brands. This is my knife brand, Exodus Knife and Tool. Premium knives made of S35VN that I designed, made by White River Knife and Tool in Fremont, Michigan. So, I actually have a couple high-vis jackalopes in stock right now at exodusknifeandtool.com. And that's a rare occurrence. So, if you enjoy the content, consider checking that out. All right, so the Spec Plus series of lines of knives, I've never fully understood why they made some of the decisions that they did. The Spec Plus handle, I think, has been around for decades. I'm not exactly sure. It's been around for a very long time, and I never understood if you're going to have a handle design that you're going to use on an entire line of knives, so we had this handle on probably 30 knives, and you're going to use it on hundreds of thousands of knives, and you're going to have one mold that they're all based off of, why not take the time to make sure that that handle shape is really good? So here's the issue. The smaller issue I'll start with first, the pinky guard on these bigger knives is a little too aggressive. And so I know that these have some kind of combat intention. However, how aggressive this pinky notch is not necessary. You see on the Scrapyard, we have a lot less pinky notch there. This is a much more comfortable knife to use while still being completely secure. But you can get used to that. So I wanted to mention it first because it's not as big of a deal. You'll see that in a lot of reviews on these knives. Guys, my pinky hurts, my pinky hurts. You can get over it, but it's less than ideal. The bigger issue here is the width of the handle and the shape of the rear of the handle. So it might be a little bit hard to tell on the camera here, but this is a rather squared off handle, especially considered that it's molded from rubber. The front is fairly nicely rounded. In the rear, we have an edge here and an edge here, and it's fairly flat on top, and it's quite wide. So compare the contouring of this handle to the Scrapyard. You'll notice the Scrapyard not only is nicely contoured, but is much thinner. So although it's somewhat square in the center, because it's much thinner, this is a far, far superior handle to the Ontario offering. Now, the Ontarios, in their heyday, were still worth buying because these knives sold for $50. That was amazing. But having a properly designed handle doesn't cost you any extra money. So I don't understand, it could still be a $50 knife with a far superior handle. When you are doing really hard, long-term, strenuous work with this knife without gloves, this inner edge, whether you're left or right-handed, that's same on both sides, creates a wild hot spot right here. I mean, it will tear your hand up. Now, a lot of the people that use this knife will say, this knife has a very comfortable handle. I always use gloves when I'm using it. If you have to use gloves for a knife handle to be comfortable, then the knife handle is not comfortable. However, I will say that some handle materials and some handle designs are not good when using gloves. But what I would say with that, this is very secure in gloves, but so is this. And this is still good without gloves. So, what I would do, I would go a little bit easier on the pinky guard here. A lot of people actually grind or cut these off. It's not much of a grind since it's just rubber, but they'll cut these off or they'll grind them off. And then if you want to keep the thickness of the handle, I do think it needs to be a little bit thinner, especially at the top and at the bottom. The rear needs to be more rounded to avoid all of the stress and shock and impact of what is a large and heavy knife going into a small surface area in your palm. And again, with contouring, what this does, we have it thinner here and thicker up here. It makes more contact with the hand. Being thinner, the thinner, smaller handle with the contouring makes more contact with the hand, which means the shock and vibration transmitted from the blade itself goes to a wider area, which relieves that discomfort. Now, the reason I'm doing this video is Ontario Knife and Tool just sold to Blue Ridge Knives. I talked to Blue Ridge Knives. I mentioned a few of the things that I hope that they do and change, and one of the things that I said is that I hope that they keep the Spec Plus knives being made in the USA, and I hope they update the handle design, and they asked me how I would change the handle design. I hope what this means is that Blue Ridge Knives, operating Ontario Knife and Tool, is going to be receptive to the advice of their users and their experts and the guys in the field. So, Lord willing, what we see here with Blue Ridge Knives and Ontario Knife Company is hopefully Blue Ridge Knives will take these classic American designs that were budget knives in the market and have better heat treat and quality than we got on the Ontario knives, and a better design on the handle, as long as they're still made in the USA. And I said it in a previous video, if Ontario Knife and Tool under Blue Ridge Knives makes a superior product, and if the factory workers that are being laid off from Ontario and the original factory from Ontario can revive another classic brand like Queen Cutlery, the entire market will benefit. We'll get better Ontario knives that are made the way they should have always been made, and Lord willing, the employees that used to work for Ontario Knife and Tool can revive another knife brand like Queen Cutlery that was located in the same area and is a similar heritage American brand, and they get some new management and they can make better quality products as well. I think what Ontario Knife and Tool needed to make a decent product was they needed to die. They needed to go. We needed to clean house. And hopefully the good employees that are left behind can be successful, find new jobs. I also hope that the bad employees at Ontario Knife and Tool that led to these crazy issues, like the CEO, Trubovich, or whatever his name, they shouldn't be showing their face in public ever again. We had absolute disgusting, corrupt management at Ontario Knife and Tool. We had the CEO spending tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars on hookers and drugs and alcohol or whatever else, and make his employees do the same against their will instead of trying to just get a good product out the door to their customers. We had all kinds of issues. So, going forward, I have high hopes, and one of the things that really set the Spec Plus line apart was the variety. I think the SP5, the SP10, the SP50, 51, and 52 were absolutely fantastic blades. There were some other good ones as well. But they all sold at like $50. So the value level was just crazy on things. A lot's changed since then, guys. Our money's not worth the same amount. American manufacturing is having a hard time right now. I hope at this point that we could get a superior Spec Plus knife made in America, selling with a cheap sheath, that's fine, nylon or leather sheath, for about $100. I think that would just be absolutely sweet, especially if we have better quality. That's what I've got. Those are the changes that I would make to this handle. Guys, make it fit people's hands. Like, nobody has like a square hinge in their hand that just this was silly. So going forward, but I hope they keep the aesthetic. I do, the ridges and stuff like that. It's cool. Anyways, let me know what you think. What would you change about Ontario Knife and Tool if you were going to take up the lead in American manufacture on some of their classic lines? Let me know. Let them know. I'm excited. I'm optimistic. I'm not often optimistic, but at this point, I'm optimistic for the change of hands of Ontario Knife and Tool, and I'm really hoping for the best for the employees at Ontario. And I'm in contact with one of the employees as well. We will have footage and coverage on that. I will also have a video with Justin Gingrich, who, in my opinion, designed the best line of knives and the most iconic line of knives that Ontario ever produced, the Ranger series of knives. I would love to see Blue Ridge pick those knives up, again, do a little bit better job on them, and make them their primary go-to heritage line of knives. So again, let me know what you think in the comment section below. I hope that you have a blessed day, and I'll talk to you later.